people will always pretend. But when you find them changing in marriage, it's because that is who they are. I want you to understand something, that as a believer, there are times that you might go outside God and you will sin against God. But because you have what is known as conscience, you come back to God asking for mercy. That is how a person who has a conscience is. A lot of you get married to people who don't have conscience. The real identity of a person is who the person is when it changes, and not go back to who the person is. A lot of times your guilty conscience makes you to ask God for mercy when you sin against God. That is because you have the fear of God in you. A lot of people do not have the fear, and that is why you must marry somebody who has the fear of God. Because when the person has the fear of God, no matter how the person is not perfect, the person will always come back to who the person is, because that fear is in him. A lot of people say that even those who have the fear of God even cheat in marriage. But I want you to know, a man who truly have a conscience cannot cheat in marriage. Many of you are married to men who do not have conscience. And that is why when they change, they don't go back to who they are. I want you to understand something. If you get married to a man who pretend at first that he is good and then change in the marriage, then what you need to do is God, because it's only God that can change a strong-willed marriage. People will change in marriage. People will change in life. Change is constant. It is the aspect of every human being. Yes, as the person grows from one level to another, the person will change. But the fact is, the person cannot change more than who the person is. The person cannot change. But if you find out that the person changed more than who the person is, that is because from the beginning, the person was a pretentious person. That is why in relationship you need to ask questions. A lot of you continue to have sex and you don't ask questions. What is communication? You communicate to know each other. A lot of you forget the communication aspect. A lot of you forget the friendship aspect. A lot of you don't ask questions. You are just blinded by love. It is not love. Many times when you ask a spouse or your partner a question and the person refuses to answer, just know that the person does not have it inside. The person does not have the answer. And if the person does not have the answer, how can the person give you what you are looking for? You need to understand something. Marry somebody who has conscience. That person, no matter how the person change from good to bad, the person will always come back. That is because you have conscience. That is why you always go back to God, asking him for mercy, because yes, you are not that kind of person. Don't go and get married to somebody who does not have conscience. And when the person do evil, the person is free. The person sleep well. A lot of times when you are angry with your husband, he sleeps well because he doesn't have conscience. A lot of times when you are angry with your wife, she sleeps well because she doesn't have conscience. But a man or a woman who has conscience will always feel it. Even in anger, the person will be a forgiving person. Don't be with somebody that cannot speak out. Don't be with somebody that cannot speak his mind, but hold grudges in his heart. That is a man that does not have conscience. Do you know that sex is what bonds the both of you? And that is why choose wisely who you want to suffer with. It is better to suffer peacefully than to suffer and die. Whosoever you are connected to, or you get married to, you become that person, because what is penetrating is the aspect of that person bonding you together. If the person is a failure, you become a failure. If the person is what? A success, you become a success. That is why you must marry a man who has the fear of God, or a woman who has the fear of God, because the person becomes a part of you, and the person becomes and determines who you will become in life. It is very spiritual, and that is why when you get married, or when you are having sex, in your dream, it is because you are connecting to this person. And whatever you have sex with will determine who you will become. Because in sex, there is a transmission of a lot of things into your body. There is a lot of transmission into your body. A lot of the negativity, the positivity, the failure, the delay, the bondage, everything penetrates inside of you. It is very spiritual. That is why you mustn't be having sex before marriage. You must keep the bed on the fire. And before you want to say you want to marry this person, make sure that that person has a conscience. Make sure that that person has the fear of God. Because if the person does not have the fear of God, the sin of that person is what you will be a partaker of. Yes, people will not be perfect, but marry a man or woman who has the consciousness of God. The person will always run back to you. The person will always run back to you because the person will feel your pain. those who do not feel your pain is because they don't have conscience. And that is why you must marry a man who has a conscience. Who, when the person does evil, it begins to prick him. When the person does evil, it begins to think about it. Not a man, when he does evil, is reluctant. He's feeling happy about it. He's always convinced that what he did or what he does is good. Don't marry a person like that. Marry somebody who has conscience. Because no matter how the person wants to change, he can never change more than how he is or more than how she is. So when you get married to somebody who doesn't have conscience, you will find the person changing and hurting you. Every decision the person makes begins to hurt you. Every decision the person makes begins to what? Hurt you. And you will suffer the consequences of that person's sin. That is why the Bible said, blessed are those who do not walk in the counsel of the ungodly. To follow me on Instagram and